fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Get as excited about your family as the Gabby Petito and politics and masks and vaccines and Biden and Trump and all these things that get us all fired up. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, Like Diamonds, back again, Salt Strong Unchurched. This one is going to hit home for some people. And I know why, and it's because it hit home for me. So I've preached a lot on here. I'm going to use that word preaching very, very loosely. But I have spoken a lot here on the podcast, this Unchurched podcast, about staying away from the news and what it does to you and how much just of a time suck it is. And I preached to, just turn the news off your phone and don't watch the news on TV. And I do all that. But I'm going to confess here, I do spend a lot of time on Facebook. We have a very large group here. I am trying to justify why I'm on Facebook. We have a very large Facebook group on Facebook, and I got 4,500 friends, and it's a way I keep in touch and tell my friends happy birthday and a million other excuses on why I'm on social media. But it's also where I get my news, and now it seems like this past year I'm getting a lot of news that I'm not even subscribed to, right? Just random news. Fox, whoever it might be, is all of a sudden now in my feed. And I found myself getting really caught up in this whole Gabby Petito, I don't even know her last name, Gabby Petito deal. And I think some of it was because, it's I got two young girls, and one of my, my oldest daughter, Shauna, she has her own little YouTube channel, and is, in her case, she's really into nature, and I'm encouraging her to start writing a little bit and reading and doing blogging. So this girl kind of reminded me of my daughter, and I felt for the whole family there of just, can you imagine, like, your daughter's getting to do something cool and going on an RV trip and documenting her whole life and even finding ways to make money, using social media and using her talents, and all of a sudden is, murdered, or who knows what we'll find out, all the stuff that actually happened here. Maybe by the time you hear it, the whole thing's been solved. But I don't know, I got real intrigued by it. And then, of course, the dude, the Brian guy, this is all, Florida people, and they said that he might even be there in Fort DeSoto Park, and the family camper was there, and that's a place I go fishing a lot. We've taken our family. It's like I was just intrigued. It was a lot of the stuff hit close to home, but I did something that I never should have done. This is where I felt guilty. My wife called me out on it big time. I started getting like refreshing my phone to see if there's updates, kind of like looking at your money or your stocks or something, just unhealthy when you ever get caught up in anything where a political rant or someone says something you disagree with and you get caught up and you're just fired up. And I was kind of fired up about this, and I'm asking my wife, hey, did you hear this about the Gabby case? And you hear this about the dude Brian? And she finally said, and this hit me so hard, she's like, why don't you get as excited about us, your family, as you do, this? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, the last week, you've only been talking about this. Why don't you talk about us? Why don't you ask your kids how things are going in school? Why don't you go out there and hit the ball with Jackson with the baseball like you were doing prior to that? Why don't you go out and do soccer with Savannah, what she loves doing? Why don't you go take the mag lights out at night and look for critters with Shauna? And it hit me hard like a dagger. And I was like, man, or a woman in this case, you are so right. Wow. Why can't I get as excited about something that I don't even know these people, right? And it's the same with politics and masks and vaccines. And if you hear the word Biden or Trump, it invokes some type of emotion and feeling, sometimes to the point that's all you can think about. And yet many times we have to neglect our own family, or what should be a priority, right? And instead we put all this energy and all this focus on just trivial stuff that in the big scheme of things doesn't really matter, and will be gone in a year or 4 years or 5 years or however long the politicians in there. And yet our family's here forever. And this is regardless if you're married or not, right? Everyone has some family, even if all your family is long gone. You have people you're close with. You have relationships, and maybe you don't have anyone you're married to. That maybe spend some time trying to find that right person versus getting so caught up in all the political stuff. And I saw something recently too on this, and it was 100% on politics. It was in a Facebook feed, and someone had mentioned the same thing to this person, and And I'm not picking on anyone who's going through this. I pray for our country and just moms and dads across the really the globe, but in particular here in America that are going through divorce. I know that's so painful, and in some cases it is unavoidable. I obviously I have my feelings on why you try to make it happen every which way possible, because you sign a covenant to be married to that person through thick and thin, through anything. But I digress. There was a comment that this person was just so riled up on politics and wouldn't let it go. I'm talking like 82 comment replies to this one person's thought. Once again, they got offended by something that was pretty much irrelevant in their life. And there's no amount of things they could say and no different angles they could say to get someone to change their mind. All it did was just tick everybody off. And someone who knew this person basically said, "Hey, I know who you are. You're going through divorce right now. Why don't you spend time trying to basically rehash your marriage instead of spending all this time bashing people on social media who don't agree with you?" And it was almost like a mic drop. And it hit me hard too, because my wife said something similar to me, and thankfully we're not going through divorce or anything. But just a simple thing like this one little stupid, and I hate to say stupid, but irrelevant case for me in terms of this Gabby thing that has nothing to do with me, and it should just be something that the family's dealing with it, and yet we all get so many opinions on here's who did it, and the parents in on it, and I was getting wrapped up in it, like I don't know why but I was so wrapped up, and it was so intriguing. And I was like, man, like this doesn't impact my life whatsoever. And yet I got, kids over here and a wife who's craving for my attention, who's craving for me to want to spend time asking about their day instead of asking about what happened in the Gabby case, right? And there's so many things. I could go on and on of different things that suck up so much of our time and even our energy and emotions and our feelings that just don't really matter in the big scheme of things. And so I want to ask you and kind of put the limelight, take it off of me for a while after throwing myself on the bus and put it back on you. What are some things that you're wasting too much time on? What are some things that are just sucking up a lot of your energy and sucking up your brain power and sucking up the time that you could be spending building some bonds with your family, building some bonds with, maybe children you haven't talked to. Well, maybe it's a best friend from growing up or from college, or an old business associate that you still like, and just life gets in the way and you're too busy. And yet you got time to spend 4 hours, talking about Biden or Trump or vaccines or masks or politics, whatever it is online. And I know there's so many of us that do it because I spend time online and I get to see just some of the hate and the negative energy. And the worst part is just that wasted time. It's like, what if we think as a country, what if we all agreed for just 1 week? It's not asking too much. How about we start with a day? One day, we all stay off of social media and take that same time. And just so you know, the average person is, spending a couple hours, more like 3.5, just on social media on their phone. So if let's just say we took 3.5 hours out of a day and ignored our phone, turn it off, put it in a locker, whatever it takes, and we spent that with our family. Think about that. Maybe it's taking them fishing. Maybe it's just going on a simple bike ride. Like for me, like I told the story earlier, just asking my son, "Hey, you want to throw the baseball and hit some baseballs off the tee?" For my daughter Savannah, it's just going out and playing soccer. She loves kicking the soccer ball around in the backyard. This simple stuff that I don't have time for because I'm busy and I want to read about Gabby Petito, right? I mean, for my old daughter Sean, it's as simple as taking a mag light out with her in a nighttime and going looking for frogs and lizards and little snakes and stuff. She absolutely loves that. And all these kids talk about it to their friends, right? Hey, this is what I do with my dad. And recently, Jackson had to do a report on his dad. And he talked about these simple things, right? About us just going out and throwing a worm out in the lake. I mean, the simple stuff. And yet, we all get sucked up in so many of these, what are complex things, but at the end of the day have little, if anything, to do with us. And I just think it's so sad. And it's also, can be so powerful if we do all agree. Just for one day, like I said, think about if we did it for a week, but if just one day took maybe an hour of those 3 hours that we're spending on social media in a given day. And your phone will tell you exactly how much time you're spending on your phone, by the way. And for the average person, I think it's like 4.5, 5 hours, and a big chunk of that is spent on social media. The rest is on email and, getting on Safari. But we're talking about 5 hours of your waking hours you're spending on your phone. That's like the average right now, which is scary and spooky. And also it's revealing, right? Gosh, we are spending a lot of time focused and getting excited and just energized about all this stuff out there. And I don't know. I urge you, if this is hitting home at all, to just to really focus on what matters. And to me, I think the biggest issue in this country right now is it's a lack of family unity, and it's a lack of parenting. I mean, most of these young people, not all of them, but most of them, the issues stem from parenting. And from parents who didn't have time for them and maybe ignored them and were excited about things that weren't really relevant. And then all of a sudden woke up one day and their kid's a killer or their kids literally completely lost their mind and is out there making the whole family look bad or even worse now in prison or dead themselves. And so much of it comes back to parenting and really just to family. And so I urge you, if you find yourself spending any amount of time on and if you're into politics as a full-time politician, you're listening, I get it that you need to be in some politics, but for the majority of us, we don't need to be spending time. No amount of research or things that we can say online and talking about our point on masks or vaccines or Biden or Trump or any of this. I mean, they all have there's someone on both sides at all given times, and there's someone who has an opinion on both sides at all given times. And there's the majority of people, 99% of the people will never change their mind because of what someone else says. So why waste our breath? Why don't we take that same energy and that same anger in some cases and that same frustrations and same emotions and pile it into our family? I'm going to do it. I don't know about you, but that's going to be my personal challenge. As I tell you, a lot of these podcasts, these Unchurched podcasts, they're for me just as much as I love sharing it with you because it helps me hold myself accountable. And I've had many times where people will hear a podcast I did 3-4 months ago and they'll bring it up and it's a reminder like, oh, I did say that on a podcast and I probably need to go back and be a little bit more accountable on that. This is like I said, this is powerful stuff for me, and I'm making a stance myself to not follow this Gabby case anymore. I'm just not going to care. It has nothing to do with me. This is on their family. I'm going to pray over it. And I think that's kind of my last piece on this and why it's still unchurched is, one, obviously putting the family first and putting your family up on a pedestal. But two, don't forget about God. I mean, pray over these issues that we're facing. Pray over the politics and vaccines and masks. And regardless of what side you're on that, pray over the Gabby's family and even this guy, Brian. Pray over all this stuff. And to me, when I do that and actually take the time to pray over something that, in many cases I might have been agitated by or, a comment I read just like got me floored and I want to go tell my wife about it. And if I sit there and just pray over that person or the circumstance of the issue, it's like this weight is lifted off my shoulders. It's tough to explain, but just try it and see if the same thing happens to you. And then take that energy that you were going to spend on that time that you're going to be angry about something and just flood your family with it. How awesome would that be? I mean, think about the memories that would be created, the bonds that would be created if we all just loved our family a little bit more, an hour more a day, instead of getting on social media and getting all pumped up and amped about something that we read about online. That's my challenge. I hope you'll take me up on it. If there's something I missed in here, if there's any other questions, if you want to know how to pray to God, anything, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Joe@saltstrong.com. In the meantime, I'm going to be going out and playing some soccer with Savannah, doing a little baseball /t-ball with Jackson, and I'm going to be doing some frog and lizard hunting, and maybe even some raccoon hunting with my daughter Shauna. That is my big promise to both myself, to you, to my wife, and of course my wife. That the big thing for us, just so you know, on that side of it, is just going out and dating more. I got really. I'll just use the word sloppy on that, where it was just kind of like sporadic, and there was always an excuse. Oh, we got COVID. It's tough to get babysitters, and we realized it's not really when you try and you really put something is an importance and you commit. So that's my commitment, to the wife in terms of being a better husband. It's just more date nights, just fun things that we do. And sometimes it's super simple. You're just getting a babysitter for a couple hours and doing something simple like a top golf or bowling, or heck, even just, biking, things that literally cost no money. Sometimes going out in the paddleboard and stuff like that. So anyhow, I hope this gives you guys some ideas. I hope it gives a little bit of perspective. I just felt called to share this with you because it's something that kind of rocked my world. And I know I'm not the only person in this boat, just based on what I read on social media. In terms of getting fired up about something that you read online. So guys, I love you. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll talk to you on the next one.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was past that.